G'day, stupid UAVfutures here, and today, that's me being a wolf, because we're going to be reviewing the DroneWolf Pup. I don't even know if wolves actually bark. Anyway, so we're reviewing the DroneWolf Pup. Super stoked because this is another Aussie frame. Can't wait to stick it on the bench and check it out. So hopefully we'll check out how it comes and hopefully build the thing and give it a fly. Alright, let's get started. So here it is, here's the box that came in, and I've taken all my details off the front here, so all you crazy ladies into multicopters don't come banging on my front door. Anyway, we open it up, we see we've got DroneWolf, nice little set of instructions here, which is very important, love that addition. And then we've got our frame. And it comes in this sort of weird plastic material. This looks like it's like a freezer bag, you know, where they suck the air out or they store like salami in or something. Anyway, we'll cut it open and see what we get. Now you do get a little card and things like this, so it's got an instruction sort of assembly guide and also a little invoice down here so you can check if anything's missing. And I'm going to quickly talk about all these parts and then we'll talk about them all in detail. So we've got our top plate, bottom plate, we've got 4 arms just here, I guess our little X bracing mount. This is for your FPV camera, you've got your standoffs and also the hardware that goes with those, and then up here is for your HD camera as well, so the little standoffs and things like that. Let's start at the bottom, let's start talking about this bottom plate. Speaking of the bottom plate, here it is, and the first thing you're going to notice compared to my hands, well, either I've got ginormous hands, which I don't, it's just how long this thing is here. Gee, this is all sounding pretty sketchy. Anyway, just how long this thing is here. So, let's have a look. This bottom plate is 144 millimeters long, so 145 millimeters long, so it is absolutely tiny. It has a really small profile this way on the frame, so it should make for a great small footprint, great cutting through the air. It's got 8 standoff holes, 4 on each side to make it really strong, and something that is very interesting, it has this little sort of X brace just here, which is very special for how it holds the arms together and really locks them in place. Now it's got some cutouts just here to save a little bit of weight, and we've got our 2 little cutouts just here on each side for the camera mounts, because they'll clip in just like this on each side. And something I do like, a nice little addition, just here on the outside right here, it's got these little bumps on the outside of the sort of standoff, and that's to give it some extra strength. So if you have an impact or something like that, it's not going to bust it straight out. So it's nice to have that little bit of extra carbon right there. The actual thickness of the bottom plate is coming in at 2 millimeters, so it's not the thickest bottom plate, but also speaking on that, I've never actually broken any of these plates. The only thing I've ever broken is the arms, so on any of my frames. Alright, let's move along and let's talk about the arms. Now these are the arms right here, they're designed to swing 5-inch props, and you can see pretty standard sort of thing just here. If I measure the arms here, you can see the carbon of them is coming in at 4 millimeters, so it is a really strong arm, which is great, so they shouldn't be breaking anytime soon. They're specially designed for a 2200 size motor, so I've got my sort of 2100 Cobra on here, and you can see that it offers still quite a bit of protection around here, so it's going to be well protected if you have any impacts just here, especially like how it sticks out on the sides and the front, but where most of the impact is going to come from. Now something pretty special about these arms is that it is in this X configuration right here. So you can see I've laid them all together and they butt up against each other to have some really good strength just there. So they're sort of spreading the weight of an impact across all 4 arms, and they actually bolt directly to this frame. So these holes just here line up perfectly with the frame just here. This would normally be on the bottom and you'd have a nice little brace plate on the top. And something I really like about the holes inside here is their clever use of how they will come up and line up to be the perfect standoff holes for holding your flight controller and things like that. And you can see that in this shot here with the bolts coming all the way up from the bottom of the frame up through there and supporting the flight controller. Now the brace plate that holds this down right here is 1 millimeter thick, so this bit of carbon that bolts down to the top is 1 millimeter, and you can see it's got all the exact same holes in just here as well, so it should make for a really strong design and hold these arms in this nice X configuration. And just when it's like this, you can see just how short this frame is going to be, which I love. It's going to make it perfect when you're on that fast angle. It should really reduce the amount of drag when you're pumping through the air. And as a comparison, I've got an old Emax frame here, and you can just see, look at the size difference. Yeah, this thing would run 6-inch props, but look how much longer this thing is. So a massive difference in the amount of air that this thing has to cut through. It's going to be so much quicker through the air than an old tank like this. Alright, and this is the top plate, and the first thing that I noticed on this is, besides the cool little wolf stencil just there, anyway, is this huge cutout right here for your FPV camera. So this is going to allow for some extreme angles for some absolute crazy speed. Again, it's got the little rounded off parts just here with some extra carbon to protect your standoffs. We've got some cutouts here as well to reduce some of the weight, and something I do love is this got 2 Velcro straps right here. So it's got plenty of spaces to zip tie things down, because I really don't like it when you're trying to make a build and you're running out of places to tie things down. Again, yeah, just some cutouts at the back, and you've also got this little part here, which is pretty standard nowadays, is for a pigtail or something like that to protect your antenna. And it's coming in at 1.5 millimeters. Alright, and the final piece of the core frame that sits in underneath that top plate and between the bottom plate right here is this little FPV camera holder. And something I didn't realize at the start, but I absolutely love this. Check this out. It actually has a little dog ear sort of cut into it right there. So it definitely is a little wolf pup. So you've got a little doggy ear just there, and this is designed to hold the HS117 camera. And this will just sit parallel like this in the front of your frame, and the camera should just slit. And the camera should just slot straight in the middle right there. Alright, and the final thing is this 2mm little plate, and that's made for your GoPro or Mobius or something like that. And you can also see, in sticking with the extreme angles that you expect this thing to have, it actually still has room to cut some space out for your camera if you want to have a crazy angle on your FPV camera. So it's really nice that the HD camera mount also thinks of how fast you might actually be going. Now, HD camera mounts are probably the part I care least about on the frame, because I usually have to come up with some own solutions and things like that, but it's nice to see that this one has been thought about a little bit and still allows for some crazy speed. And finally right here we've got all our hardware and things like that, so we've got all our screws and nuts and bolts and stuff, but something I really like, look at this, some gold coloured standoff. So I really like it that I have something other than red. So well done guys over at DroneWolf Pup. Really like these sort of gold standoffs. Rightio, so I guess I better build this thing. Let's put this thing together. Ta-da! So there it is, there's the finished frame, and man, what a mission. I'd forgotten how hard it is, or how annoying it can be to use something that doesn't have a sort of unibody that's got the arms and things like that. Anyway, moving forward, really like the way that it looks. I actually had a bit of trouble though trying to put this top plate, not the top plate, trying to fit this FPV mount into the top plate. I actually had to drill out these little holes here a little bit, and also file down the sort of little FPV mounts that go in the side. Now, weighing the thing, it's worth noting that I didn't use these little lock nuts just in this bit, because this is just the frame that I wanted to show you what it looks like. So, but if there was the finished build, I'd be using these. So all up with everything, it's coming in at a 115 grams, which is fantastic for a 5-inch frame. But I am really loving its small form factor. I absolutely think it looks incredible. And you can see here too, here's a shot of how it would hold up a PDB or a NAS or something like that, using these longer screws and standoffs sort of in the middle that also runs through into the arms. Alright, so now I guess I've got to build the thing and give it a fly to sort of finish the review. So we should get a finished product in 3, 2, 1, kaboom! Alrighty, so here it is. It is all built and all finished, and I've taken it out for some test flights, and I've got a couple of things to talk about. Now, one of the things I did love was these little like cutouts just here, some of these little lines and things. They seem like they're specifically made for zip ties or antenna mounts and things like that. So these are really cleverly designed and cut in here. So I really love some of the little cutouts in the frame. There's also some on the bottom here, but I've actually got them taped up because I actually just taped in my D4R2. I didn't realize this at the start, but I absolutely love the way and how snug this looks from the front in the FPV camera. It is so well protected in there, and I was right about the insane angle you can actually have on this thing. So that's probably, I'm going to guess, that's at almost like a 60-degree angle, so pretty intense. Definitely not going to be flying that hard. I did find when building in the middle, I had a little bit of trouble trying to stack everything in here. It looks great from the side, and I think it's fantastic, but it just squeezes in. So that was one of the things, if you're not the most competent builder, it can definitely be a little bit tricky trying to cram everything in a nice clean stack just here. And that's simply because this middle part here where the arms joined is just raised that little bit more, so you actually have a little bit less space to work with. Now let's talk about its flight characteristics. I found it extremely nimble and agile in the air, and it was so quick. So this really small sort of thin profile allowed it to absolutely slice through the air. Even though this quad's not tuned or anything like that, I've just thrown in an old flight controller, it felt rock solid right from the get-go. So this is definitely a really easy frame to tune for. Rightio, but let's move on to some things that I think could be improved, or definitely some things to work on. And the first one, so I guess it's just a limitation of this kind of frame, is by having the arms like this, you really are going to be a bit limited in the space and the components you can stack inside your little craft just here. Now, I found it held up really well in some crashes, because I actually did put this thing into the ground a few times, but what I did notice in some of those crashes, these arms have a little bit of give in them, and I've got these tightened down pretty much as tight as they can go, but the arms can still move in and out just a little bit under a hard impact, so I had to actually not bend them back, but I guess push them back to their original positions. You could slide them back and forth a little bit, so I don't know if that's something to do with the design just here, or if these bolts need to be further apart or something, but that's one thing I did find. And another thing I was a little bit concerned about as well, these 4 bolts here, which actually bolt onto your arm, they're pretty much the reverse. They've got a lock nut on the other side, just like this 4. So that's these 4 just here, and they're also the ones you stack your nays and PDB on. I was a little bit concerned that, because carbon fiber is conductive, that I might actually get a short across my PDB or something like that because of the bolts that were underneath. So I used some electrical tape, and I actually picked a different PDB than I was originally planning to, so I could put that in there, because you really do need to look out for shorts, because some PDBs, these bolts underneath, are going to connect them, and you have a nice big little fire going on in here, so you got to definitely be careful of that. So maybe, I don't know what they could really do about these 4 bolts, because they need to be strong because they hold the arms in place, but it's also a bit sketchy maybe holding in the PDB. I haven't had any problems, and I have had a few crashes and things like that, but definitely check your PDB doesn't have any of the solder joints or anything touching the screws or running through any traces or the pads or anything like that. Make sure that's all clear of the bolts that hold this all together. So yeah, so besides those few little things you need to watch out for, this is definitely a top quality frame. I absolutely love this frame. It seems like Australia is pumping out some awesome little frames out over here. So there it is. That's my review of the DroneWolf Pup. Absolutely love it. I don't think I've ever had such a fun maiden. It was so fast. It was a little bit scary, especially after flying so many 180s lately. So I'm definitely going to be checking out a lot more 5-inch frames, because this was such a blast. I'm going to leave you with some flight footage of this thing buzzing around. Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying. Ooh! Sometimes I wonder where seedless watermelon comes from. Like, is it from the seeds, or what seeds? I don't know. Mind blown.